If you've been watching this show for a while, you know that I like dirty, dusty cars in an authentic, kind of gross environment. Barns, warehouses. This is completely the opposite of that. This is the Barber Motorsport Museum in Leeds, Alabama. And I'm here with Lee Clark. Lee was head of restoration services here. Now you're just a retired car guy.
Yeah, I come in and tinker 3 days a week.
Take a look where we are. Take a look at this building. This was designed as a museum. Not converted into a museum, but from square one designed as a museum to have the most, I guess, comprehensive motorcycle collection in the world.
Yeah, we're in the Book of World Records Guinness, the largest motorcycle collection in the world.
And how many is that?
We have about 1,700 in stock, average about 1,200 on display. About 150 cars in the world's largest Lotus race car collection.
There we go, I'm a Lotus guy. This level is the restoration level, the maintenance level, and if you were to walk in and pay for your admission here, this is a level you can't come to, but we can bring you here. So just look around here. I mean, look at these, a Ford GT, a Porsche 904, an Abarth, a hot rod, a couple of Lotuses. But if you look up here, you'll see a disbursement of cars and motorcycles.
All Formula One Lotus cars.
There's no other collection like this in the world. You know, we travel the country searching for old cars in authentic environments, hopefully indoors so they're not too rusty. But when we come across a museum, we're gonna highlight that place as well, because it's not easy for museums to survive. You know, the cost of salaries, building and utilities. So many museums start off with the right ambitions and then 5 years later they're gone. This one's been here how long?
I've been here 31 years. Museum collection started about 35 years ago. It's actually in a 501c3 charitable organization, so we'll survive him.
So who's him? Tell me, Barber, this is the Barber Museum. Who's Barber?
George Barber. Yeah, he originally was a racer. Had to quit racing when his dad died. He had to take over the dairy, which is a commercial dairy. He really loves Birmingham, and one of the things the reason he did the museum was to promote Birmingham.
Wow.
And everywhere we go, like we were the largest loaner to the Guggenheim. He made sure they said Birmingham, Alabama down there. And they did the art of the motorcycle. So he just really wants to help Birmingham.
Well, would you walk us around and show us what the public can see, and then show us what the public can't see, because that's kind of behind the scenes stuff we love.
And the public can come down on the 3 race day weekends. The shops are closed.
Right. What do you mean 3 race day weekends?
Well, our Indy car race, our vintage car race, our vintage bike race, and our motor race, 4 weeks.
So we didn't tell you that there's a racetrack out there. How big is that racetrack?
2.33 miles. I was involved in the original design with Alan Wilson. It's a for-profit subsidiary of the museum because it supports the museum. We have the Porsche schools here 150 days a year.
Man.
So that helps a lot.
All right, lead the way.
All right.
You say you don't do any restorations anymore, but it seems like you are doing
Well,
them.
I'm doing some special projects.
Okay.
So, but the restoration department, as far as the 5 people we had, is no longer around.
So this is a car you're working on.
Yeah, this is a replica 906 we're doing.
Okay.
Mr. Barber actually had a 906 on order right after Sebring, and when he and Peter Gray were racing, and I told you Peter split up after that racing, and he had this one on order, but he didn't get it. And he had RSKs and 550 Spiders, sold them all for nothing, you know, when they were just race cars. So it's kind of hard to go back and spend millions on something that you could have bought for $8,500 was he still has the invoice.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
My parents' house at that time was less than that.
So we decided to do a couple of them. You know, these are out of Germany. They're exact replicas. I mean, the chassis are, the guy that makes the chassis makes replacement chassis for people who race them. We put a modern motor in it because we got our own racetrack. We want to demo it.
Would this engine have gone in this car?
They did towards the end, but we got this one. We got a 908 Spider over there, and we got a 908 Coupe coming. So these are brand new 8-cylinder, 3-liter Le Mans spec motors with also a period correct transmission. Exact replicas of in the day.
So think about Porsche. 4-cylinder Porsches, 912, 356, 911 motors were horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engines, but they also made, for racing purposes, horizontally opposed V8, not V8, 8-cylinder motors, 12-cylinder motors, and I saw on the internet this weekend a 16-cylinder horizontally opposed experimental engine.
Yeah, I've read about that, I haven't seen it.
Crazy,
yeah.
Crazy. Well, winning was everything.
Yeah.
And that 356 over here.
Yeah. This is Mr. Barber's first race car was a Super 90. Not this one, because again, he sold it way back when, but we found this locally. It was in a guy's basement. His father had bought it when the car was about 2 years old, when he was in Germany. He immigrated to the US and brought the car with him, and the son had it in his basement for 25, 30 years. And his son just passed away, and we bought it. We bought it about a year and a half ago. I stripped it down, and we did a total rebuild of a tub. You can see every part of it has been cleaned.
And you did it right here?
No, well, I sent the body work out.
Okay, yeah.
Everything else, yeah.
So next time you get a phone call like that about a Porsche in a basement, I'm going to give you my number. All right? And I'm going to call my buddies here with the cameras and invite us down.
Okay.
So show us what's not being restored now. Show us things that are already like done.
Okay. Probably the best one was we'll go upstairs and look at the 11 we were talking about.
Cool. By the way, we're here because the Barber Museum volunteered to store my Woody for a couple of days until we got here. Wow. So this is the main entrance, there's the parking lot. So when you come in as a guest to this museum, this is what you see coming off the street.
Well, that's what he wanted. He wanted to come in and go, oh my God, where do I start? That's why it's open like this. He wants sensory overload.
So this is like Lotus, history of Lotus automobiles?
Pretty much chronologically.
The first one?
The one was gone. It was destroyed, never found. We bought that at an auction just to have it. It's a pretty accurate one. That's a replica of the 2. There's only 1 2 and it's still in England. That is the 3. There's only 3, and that's the 4. Those are the 2 oldest Lotuses around.
So there's your young Colin Chapman with his girlfriend, Hazel,
Mm-hmm.
who became Hazel Chapman.
Yep. And she
doing
used to race.
trials racing.
After the war, that's all they could do at first. All the road courses had been built on the old air bases at that point. Like Silverstone.
And these had tiny Ford engines, is that right?
Yeah, they're little flathead 4s.
This is the fourth ever built, and you can see the Lotus 7 style come into this. In a moment, we'll see a Lotus 7 somewhere, and you can see how the nose carried through to even cars made today, the Caterham.
That was actually the first Lotus because he actually incorporated when he built that one. The rest of them were specials. He put the Lotus badge on with that one.
And so this is when they started to get into full-bodied cars.
6,
8, 9. Yeah, I gotta tell you,
210s.
I love this. I mean, you might think it's gaudy, like Batman, but when you see old racing pictures of these, like at Bridgehampton or whatever, it's fabulous.
I got this one in Atlanta from Fred Burke. You probably raced against him.
I know Fred Burke,
yeah.
yeah.
That's one of the first ones I bought from the museum.
Wow. So here's the Lotus 11.
That's Bill Warner's old car.
So some were fiberglass and some were aluminum.
Well, no, these are all aluminum.
These are aluminum, okay.
The 11s are all aluminum, including that one.
If you remember, we were in Boothbay Harbor for a show several years ago, and my friend Bob McKay had one in a garage that he's owned for, 45 years at least. 11 sitting in a barn in Boothbay Harbor, Maine, that was in the 1955 Mille.
Oh, wow.
Full windshield, headlights, all weather gear, top, side curtains. Colin Chapman's theory was add lightness.
Yes.
Light, light, light. Now this is fairly structural, but a Lotus Elan chassis is 45 pounds because it's made of tin.
Well, the 7s were like 65 pounds before you had any sheet metal.
Yeah.
This is the original chassis. This is Ivan Weber's car, but we bought it from Clive. It's been restored.
So this plus this equals this?
Yes.
Okay. Lotus Formula One cars?
Yep. That's 4-wheel drive. That didn't work.
Well, I remember this one.
These are all the DF V-power cars, and you get the turbo stuff.
So this is the era that I was a Formula One guy when '79 Mario Andretti won the World Championship in a Lotus. Now here's a Lotus Elite.
Yep, and there's a brand new body.
One of the the most memorable race cars of all time, and there's the body. The chassis to this car.
You can see it. So there's this fiberglass.
Yeah, the metal tubes are embedded in the fiberglass. So if that stuff rusts, you got a big job.
Well, there's not much metal.
No, it's not.
Around the windshield, and then the shock mounts are fiberglass. So there's probably not 20 pounds of metal in it.
Man. All right. Well, enough of the Lotus. Show us some bikes because that's what you're famous for. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, we bought that because it's a curiosity.
Yeah.
It's 48 cylinders.
Does it run?
It did run. I think it ran long enough to make the Guinness Book of World Records. About 1,000 feet. But it's a bunch of basically two-stroke engines kind of built together.
And what kind of engines are they?
Piaggio 125. We just got it about 6 months ago.
6 banks of 8 cylinders. It's a 49 cylinder. Oh, one is a scooter engine that acts as a starter motor.
Yeah.
Jeez. So in theory, it's got 519 horsepower. So what bikes are you proudest of? Like, when people walk in the door.
Well, here's one I'll show you here. It's John Surtees' World Championship bike. First off, it's an MV Agusta, which is, to me is kind of the Ferrari of motorcycles.
Yep.
And it's just of the era when the bikes were, really good looking too. They didn't have all kinds of wings and stuff, but that's one of John's MVs that.
Right here.
Yep.
So John Surtees, the late John Surtees, was a world championship motorcycle racer. When he had conquered that world, he went on to become a world championship car racer, winning in Grand Prix with Ferrari.
1964, he won the world championship.
In that car? Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah, there are 2 8-cylinders. This is the only one known to have survived. There's 3 12-cylinders that are still around, but he drove most of his races in the 8-cylinder.
And here's a guy that we've talked about often on this show, Dan Gurney. We went out to his shop recently when his son Justin acquired the '61 Chevy Impala. Well, here's one of the Lotuses he drove at Indy.
Yes.
Coming in third in '65.
And they're his motorcycles he made.
Oh yeah, the Alligator.
Yep, that's the prototype on your right.
So I went out to visit Gurney once on business. He said, "Tom, do you ride?" I said, "Well, not really, but I know how to ride." He said, "Why don't you just take that for a ride?" And it was the prototype, so I guess it might have been this one. I said, "What's that thing worth?" He said, "I have about $1 million in it." I said, "I don't think I'm going to ride today." His theory was, why do you put the heaviest part of the bike, the gas tank, up high, and the driver, the rider, up high? Why don't you put this stuff down low? So he rebuilt, it's got a Honda motor, but it's this unique frame. And so your butt sat here, and low center of gravity, he was so high on this bike. And how many did they make? They didn't make many of them.
Right there, there's every one of them in the picture. Yeah, our bike, when it came in, we'd seen Gurney up at the Willow Springs right up on these. And when we got this one first, everybody said, look at our bike guys, they rode it, went, wow, this is pretty nice. But they were kind of suspect of it until they rode it. And that was going to be his twin-cylinder prototype when he was going to make next.
How do you get all this stuff? Man.
Right. Oh, we bought that from someone else, and then the Gurney family gave us these two.
Wow.
This is the Morbidelli collection, Giancarlo Morbidelli. Wonderful man, had a Pesaro. He was the only man, he won world championships in the 125, 250, and 350 when the Japanese were killing, but he won them in the small classes because he was fanatic about it. And we have one of his only bikes he's ever sold was race bikes. He did the V8 as an exercise.
A V8 bike.
It's right over there.
So these are, I'm looking at this frame, all aluminum, fantastic, man. And was this a production bike or one?
Well, it was. He was going to make. I think he made about a dozen of them. He wanted to showcase their engineering abilities at the Morbidelli factory.
Take a look at this over here. This is amazing. I mean, look at these little headers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come down here. It looks like I'm looking at a miniature hot rod. Wow. So you have vintage bikes. I see stuff there from probably the teens, 20s.
Yeah, the floors are kind of by decade.
So you have a lift that goes that high.
Yeah, it's scary. Because they dust the bikes about 2 times a year. And they have harnesses and they step out there. I don't do that either. That's for young people.
So how tall is that?
I think it's 65 feet.
How many square foot is this building?
Well, that's the addition. Before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was added on about 7, 8 years ago. I think this was right around 130, and that makes another 100, I think, basically.
Wow.
This is kind of a mix of everything up here.
So Britain, I've always been fascinated with Britain.
Yep, it's down this way.
Now I don't know much about it. There's a book written about it. I have it at home, but I haven't read it yet. But what was his first name, do you know?
John.
John Britton was a New Zealander who built his own racing motorcycles, in a rural setting, in a farm. And the story I heard is that he would cast his own cylinders and pistons in the dirt behind his house.
He did a lot of that. I'm not sure about pistons, but I'm sure he did a lot of it. You'll see it over here.
So this is the Britain, and if you can believe this, there's not many Britons in the world. It'll probably tell us right here, 160 horsepower. But that's a made engine. He made his own engine.
Yeah, I think he used a Suzuki gearbox internals, but made his own gearbox.
And this is a homemade bike. This is a bike that was made in rural New Zealand. And he came here. Did he win Daytona? I'm not sure.
I think he
second or third, maybe.
The Harley didn't like him coming down via the V-twins. So somehow I think some politics came into play. But carbon is, it's not telescopic. It's a fork. Carbon fiber wheels, carbon fiber tank. This actually has a hole in the front because you couldn't draft this bike. Air went through it. So it's hard to draft, You sit on top of the radiator, it gets a little warm. And that air goes through the radiator and out the back.
So he not only designed it, built it, but he raced it. He built only 10 machines. Yeah. This is number 7.
And we had 9 of them here a couple
Britain
years ago.
won the World, British, European, and American Racing Series in 95. Yeah. And I think that's the year I went to Daytona, so I'm run. Great story. And this is design studio?
Center.
What do you do there?
Well, I'll let Pierre talk to you about that. Hey, Pierre, can you come tell them what you do here?
Hi, Pierre. Tom Cotter. How are you?
Hi there.
He's here to show about barn finds when these come to the museum too.
My name is Pierre Blanche. I'm an ex-Ducati, Norton, TVS, wherever designer. And I'm responsible to follow through the things in the design center. Mr. Barber indicated about 4 years ago to Mr. Case that he wanted to create this to show people what design is all about. So this is really to inspire people to get into design or actually make them aware the design exists, because people don't really know what it's all about. We decided to redo the Ducati Supermono, which was done in 1993, and redo it with a modern technology. So looking forward 30 years. So that bike was done with all the traditional methods,
But
experience.
all printed in 3D here.
Plus that was all 3D printed in the back here.
Is that a running bike or just a prototype?
No, it's a prototype. This is the way that normally gets done. One would build a prototype, print it all up, and then once you've decided everything's okay, then you can go ahead and produce the parts. All those CAD files can now be sent to a supplier and they can start work on the parts.
Yeah.
So this is all 3D printed. The only metal parts are the wheel, the rims. There's some little thin sheets here to make it look like aluminum. The fork legs, a few, all 3D print, all take, including plexiglass.
What kind of engine would that have been, or was it totally unique?
No, it's based on a 1198 Ducati engine, but it's got a new crankcase. The cylinder's been flipped upside down, there's a supercharger underneath, and the exhaust goes out the top. Reason being, the cooling system is actually designed properly. Now normally, normal bikes, the current bikes are all very poor. This is based on research on the 1935, and this was also used on the Mustang P51. So this is the most efficient way to cool something.
So the air comes in here, where's it go? Through the
The
frame?
air comes through it, it expands. That's the radiator, and let's put this for another radiator. What you have on bikes now are radiators. They look like something in my house. This is a heat exchanger. And then the air slows down, the pressure goes up. I can now go through a radiator that size, which cools better than the radiator this size, because I can make it cool a lot thicker. Then the air gets accelerated out the back. It fills the back part of the bodywork. The exhaust fills this, there's a lot of hot air there, so that's a virtual tailpiece. Currently the tailpieces you have on motorcycles do nothing. You can put a beer crate on the back, it makes no difference. But this would give you better aerodynamics. The problem being with this is you have to redo the whole motorcycle layout to be able to do that.
Is there any plan on producing one that runs?
Absolutely not. No. It's just a design exercise.
I get it.
It's showing what one could do if you didn't work in a regular company.
What a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So think about this, Barber Museum, think about motorcycles, vintage motorcycles. We're in future motorcycles. This is from cradle to grave. This is from the beginning to the end.
See, there's another Electrolux.
That does look like a vacuum cleaner. Is that a rotary engine as well?
No, it's Aramaki, but that's when the designer has. This is the designer, not an engineer.
Is that Austria?
Aramaki, they were Italian. I think.
But I found two of these in a motorcycle junkyard in Phoenix. Thought they looked so cool, and they were rusty.
When the Guggenheim did the art of the motorcycle, they came to see us first, showing around, and I said, I can't believe they were pick what they wanted from us. They picked about 17 bikes. I said, I can't believe you didn't pick this, because they were about the design of the motorcycle.
Right,
they went, you're
right.
right. And they took that one.
So what year are these? 1906.
Yep. And this is Pierce, like that's in the Pierce Arrow.
Pierce House made in New York, Rochester, New York.
The shaft drive.
Shaft drive, wow. So imagine we had shaft drive in 1910, and then why we went to chain after that, I don't know. But okay, so this chain worked the pedals to start the bike.
That's how I started, yep.
And then once it started, there was a drive shaft. 1885. Look at that oak, beautiful.
And this is just a model.
Yeah.
But, Wolf Mueller, and this is a steam-powered motorcycle. Can you imagine having that boiler between your legs?
Boy, look at that.
Yep.
What design, holy
Near a
crap.
car, it's hubless steering, with no forks.
No forks.
Yeah. It's wheels captured.
Yeah, it's got a lot, yeah. What a design. Look at it,
A lot of stuff was
1926.
designed, they didn't have the metals to make it. Their 4-valve heads go way back when, but they didn't have the valve springs to spin it fast enough for a 4-valve to work. I mean, superchargers, you name it.
Early Harley Davidson.
Yep. They were over, Guggenheim did the work. Before the Depression, there was like 150 manufacturers of motorcycles, I think, or more. 2 afterwards, Indian and Harley. And of course, Indian, almost, if it weren't for World War II, Indian would have been gone.
Yep.
Harley, because of police contracts.
Here's a replica of a board track. So there was one of these at Charlotte Kenny Wallace, Rusty Wallace's brother, was racing, and it was Cox Treated Lumber was his sponsor on his NASCAR car. And they said, and they're a great piece. They said if board tracks had been built with pressure treated lumber, we'd still be racing on them. But these things didn't have a long lifespan.
Well, and the problem was the public would be right there.
Yeah.
And of course they'd have accidents and take the public out.
Yep.
They say kids also would find loose boards and stick their head up and look out as the bikes come down and drop back down. Crazy.
And these didn't have brakes, as I remember,
Yep.
right?
Nope.
No brakes.
Nope. One of my favorites is, well, he said, when you find them in original state,
Yep.
I mean, you just don't see that.
And where'd you find something like that?
This one, this is the one we got from a lady, widow. They were from up north, but she moved down to Florida, and she took it with her. Her husband died, and she kept it inside.
So original paint, original lettering.
Yeah, look at the decals, the tape.
That's a big deal in the motorcycle world for people that like original stuff. Original paint, original lettering. Like,
Yeah, it's hard to find. They're only original ones.
that's right.
You see like that? Those Indians are all pretty much original. This Yale.
This is like artwork. I'd like to have this on my living room. You know, I find it amazing that here people can come on their own. They don't have to be guided, and you have no ropes. People can get, if they have a question or want to take a picture of a detail, they can go right up to it.
Yep.
Very accessible.
Yeah, we have cameras to make sure people act right. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while you get someone who does something stupid, but by and large the public is very respectful.
So these are Cobra type wheels because the AC Asica had the shallower rim.
Yeah, well this one was done for the Colorado Mile or whatever.
Yep.
So it's been
Melee, Colorado Melee. Yeah.
It's got a fuel cell and updated.
That's nice, and that's got a Bristol motor.
Yes.
So these cars, bicycles, outboard engines. What is this corridor?
Well, we call this the Grand Hall, obviously the big ceiling. We have a lot of private dinners and stuff over here, and so these get moved around. You know, we have,
So look at this Terralinga racing team. That was Carroll Shelby's.
Yeah.
Oh, a gift of Carroll Shelby. Look at that.
Yeah. I think we got this from Gurney. Gurney had it.
Is that right?
Yeah. This is Shapecraft 26 with a fastback on it. Lotus didn't do it, but it was raced as this in the day.
Wow. So this is molded right onto the body, man.
Yeah. I got this was one of the 4 cars I got out of Copenhagen.
Did you go over and check them out? Mm-hmm. I'd like to carry a bag sometime.
We give people rides in the 211. It's a fun car. I mean, Toyota motor, supercharged. It's just
It's perfect.
yeah. Paul Newman's Racing Lotus.
Oh, no kidding.
It's called Paul Newman and
Doc Bundy, maybe?
Yeah,
Doc Bundy. Yeah.
Doc had the championship car, but this is called the movie star car because they put Paul Newman and
Robert Carradine.
Yeah. This is the other 10 that has a Connaught motor in it.
Oh, I read that on the thing up there.
Yeah.
A very tall engine.
Yes. Mr. Barber's last race car.
Really?
Brabham BT8.
This is it, or
this is it. This is it.
he
Yes.
never sold it?
No, he sold it, and I looked at buying it for him 25 years ago, and it was at Hall & Hall, it's just up in England, and it's too much money. And then during COVID, someone reached out to him with it, and we bought it. Got a spare motor with it. It's the original motor, matter of fact.
Wow.
It's got a new crossweight and garner.
I think so many museums, no matter what kind of museum, it's all about yesterday. It's preserving yesterday, which is what should be done. But what the Barber Museum has done here is incorporated yesterday's technology, both automobile and motorcycle, to tomorrow's technology, and inspiring young people to come here and learn about 3D printing motorcycle parts and potentially building prototype motorcycles that in the future we might have. So they're kind of closing the circle, and it's not just about yesterday, it's about tomorrow as well. Getting school groups involved, getting clubs involved, technical colleges, a special place. And thankfully it's got funding to keep operating like this because so many museums are folding. They have the right mission, they have the right idea. This place has the right funding too. Thanks for joining me. See you soon.